Hey, welcome to another edition of What's Next with Joey McGuire, Robert Giovannetti with Joey McGuire. Coach, do you have a great spring break?
Had a great spring break. Got to see some great basketball with a bunch of Red Raiders, so I did. I had a great spring break.
Yeah, you seemed fired up. I saw you guys got to spend a little time in Vegas, too. It was your wife's birthday, and you had a great time, it seems like.
Yeah, we won a lot more in Wichita than the McGuires did in Vegas, but it was, I took her for her birthday, and it was spring break, and then it was a bucket list for me. I'd never been to the tournament. I mean, I'm such a huge March Madness fan, and of course, a huge Red Raider fan.
She'd never been before to a tournament game?
Never, and so it was. Debbie actually on Wednesday was like, I mean, she was tired, and we were coming back, and I said, well, we're going. Like, it's spring break. It's perfect time. I never get to do this, so let's go. And, man, what a weekend. What a Thursday and Saturday experience.
It's fantastic. It looked like, too, when I saw some of the video, I was back here with baseball, but you guys squeezed every moment out, right? Fans interacted. A lot of Red Raiders up there.
Yeah, especially Saturday. I mean, it was a 5-hour drive, so I know a bunch of people from that East Texas and Dallas came up. And, I get the game day, Raider walk, and then I'm in the game, so I don't get to experience some of the things I got to experience there. And, man, we're as fans, man, we're so lucky, not just to have a team like our basketball team to cheer for, but man, our Palm squad was so awesome. And then our band, I mean, they were rocking in the band direct. Like, I'm telling you, I was watching the band just as much as I was watching the game at times, because the energy that they brought to that atmosphere was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so a lot of times they had the band on, and I thought they seemed really kind of amped up too there.
Yeah, they were. They brought it. I thought I heard D. Will talk about, it was almost like a little, USA arena, because it was on Saturday, man. There was a bunch of Red Raiders.
How do you watch a game as a coach? Are you looking at it from an athlete standpoint? Or you ever get caught up just being a fan, or are you always kind of in coach mode?
I got both. But the thing is, I told all the people around me, I said, man, I'm so nervous because I have no control.
Right.
It's one of those deals. And then there was some fan moments that I was probably yelling, just feed it to 5 and 15, just pound the paint, just because they couldn't stop us. I mean, we were just too powerful underneath, and, we weren't shooting the three great. And so those two guys, I think there was one point that they had 41 of our 45 points. And so I turned into fan mode, and then I was like, golly, man, I say it all the time though. I mean, that's who we are. I'm coaching on Saturday, but there's other things in my life that I'm a fan of that I get frustrated and
for sure.
excited about too.
When you look at Grant, how he's been able to take these guys and he can coach them anyway.
Yeah.
And as a coach, do you look at that too and say, I mean, do you appreciate it maybe even differently from a coach's standpoint?
Yeah, I do. We actually talk about that every single Saturday. We have a staff meeting before the game, and, it's kind of been our deal, and it'll continue to be like, figure out what kind of game this is, because you go in and you got this great game plan, and you're like, hey, this is going to go this way, and then all of a sudden it's not the game you thought it was going to be. You've got to find a way to win that game. So you got to figure out what kind of game it is, adjust, and figure out a way to win it. And that, there was so many times in the last couple of years, that was a thing that I was probably most proud of is at different times to be able to adjust in games, but then also the frustration, of not being able to understand what kind of game it was and not adjusting fast enough. And so I appreciate that, because that's the one thing with them, man. One night we shot 46 threes, and the next night I think we shot 10, and just found a way to win the game.
Did you go back and forth, or did you stay over?
No, we stayed. We stayed Friday.
What did you do Friday in Wichita?
Just kind of hung out and had a great dinner with a bunch of Red Raiders and then watched games. I mean, I love March Madness. I was watching it last night whenever I got home and rooting for the Big 12, and it was great to see. I think we have 5 in the Sweet 16, and I'm gonna root for every one of them.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you from that standpoint. bowl games and things.
Yeah.
Do you root for other Big 12 teams, or guys you go, hey, you don't have to say them out loud, but like, I'm not going to root for these guys?
No, I root for the Big 12. I think it's great for us. I think there's such a, I was sitting there yesterday. I thought it was a great game. I thought it was way too early to see a UConn Florida game, and so then you're like in this deal of how the seeding went, and did they miss on some of that stuff? I mean, I don't follow basketball enough to know, exactly how everything works. And, and at the end of the year, sometimes I don't think even the people that do and understand it. But, I always root for the Big 12 whenever it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny when you look at it. You mentioned, I think there are actually 4 Big 12 teams, 7 SEC, 4 Big 12, 4 Big 10, and then 1 ACC. But do you think that speaks to the world we're in now, that you don't have Cinderella in here this year, really? I mean, I know you've got a low seed. Arkansas is a low seed, but for the most part, you don't have the kind of the feel-good story from some small school somewhere. Do you think that's or just an anomaly? Do you think that's the way we're living in now?
It's going to be interesting. I think it's a little bit the way we're living in. I think they said that it's the first time that something like a 12, 13, 14 seed hadn't been in the Sweet 16 and since maybe 2018. I don't know the exact things I was reading. I do think it has a lot to do with the world we're living in now, and then I think it's going to be interesting how everybody adjusts in the world that's coming whenever it comes into revenue sharing. And I was reading an article yesterday, do some of these basketball only schools get an advantage over,
they don't have to,
because they're not sharing with football wise. So, but do they have the same budget to be able to do that? It's going to be interesting. I think it's changing, and we got to adapt to it.
Hey, you mentioned UConn. They went out like champions, didn't they? They fought hard yesterday. And their coach, man, he is intense.
I'm not going to lie. I was rooting for him really hard because, of course, I'm going to root for us to win, because I would love to see Grant McCaslin Hurley matchup, because those two dudes are pretty fiery.
They are fiery.
They get after it. So I'd like to see the teams play. I think it'd be a great game, and then maybe those two get after it a little bit.
Maybe a post.
Yeah,
a post game thing.
Yeah, maybe a timeout. And they're yelling at each other. That'd be
Those two guys are both intense for sure. Hey, spring break. What do you think sending these guys out? You a little worrisome, parent wise, coach wise, that you go, man, I got a week now. These guys are just off on their own. Or you feel pretty good about your guys?
I feel good about my guys, but I did text them. They got a text from me 3 times during the break of sweat. The one thing we talked about is, man, we're coming back today. We're going to lift and run, and then we're in full pads tomorrow to get practice number 3 in, and so. You want to make sure we're gonna be smart. We're doing all red zone tomorrow, so everything we do, they're really not gonna have to open up, so we'll be smart there. But just one of those deals that, hey, you better be sweating, because it's not a time to where you got a week to get back in it. You've got one day, and we're ready to roll.
What was young Joey McGuire like on spring break? Were you a big spring break guy?
Skiing.
You're skiing?
Yeah, skiing. So I figured this out later in life. My mom would always find someone that was going snow skiing. And this started whenever I was in middle school, and I snow skied. Still loves to snow ski. I hadn't been in a few years, but I asked her, or I was talking about snow skiing, and she was smiling. I'm probably in my 30s, early 30s, and she's over there smiling. And I said, what are you smiling about? And she goes, well, that was on purpose, that I always found somewhere for you to go, until they started skiing. Because they didn't snow ski, whenever I first started. And I said, well, why'd you do that? And she goes, well, I knew you'd get in a lot less trouble. And really it was like, you didn't go to the beach, right. You weren't going to Padre, you weren't going to Destin and those party kind of areas. Yeah. She goes, at least if you went snow skiing, you'd be tired at the end of the night, so that you weren't going to get in as much trouble. And, she was right. I never thought of it that way.
Really.
It really is.
Did you do that with your kids?
Are they
skiers?
They are skiers. They are skiers, and but they were pretty active in spring sports. I wasn't as active as they were spring wise.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit more time on my hands, and we didn't have spring football, and whenever I was going through in high school, and so there was a little bit more time on my hands than what my kids had.
Yeah, the rules changed for sure. Something else I thought cool happened since we last talked. Our man Tony Bradford graduated from DPS school. That's pretty cool.
It is, man. He looked great. It was really great to see the pictures of two things. Boog was there with him, and as everybody knows, those two were connected at the hip.
For sure.
And I was proud of that. And then Scott Stevenson, who is our Texas Ranger, was there for the graduation also. And man, he's been such a big influence on Tony's life and helping him through all this. And so I thought that was really cool to have those guys there.
Two things about Scott. One, maybe you don't want to mess with him, but maybe one of the nicest guys ever.
Yeah, he is the absolute best. But no, I would not mess with that guy.
No.
Number one, he's up here lifting, I think every day of the week, and those Texas Rangers are they're pretty tough.
You get to a Ranger. The other thing is sometimes I'll get to, if the right amount of people don't go on a trip, I might be able to kind of sit by Scott.
Yeah,
it takes a lot to get me to that seat. But if it's not, and then my backpack's up there, he's like, yeah, you don't want to take my backpack.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know what's in his backpack.
I know he's packing it everywhere. I feel very safe whenever Scott's with me. I know that.
Yeah. He's like, hey, leave that there. You can't handle that backpack.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, before we left, the lights go out.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right. This place is shut down. You got a team here, right?
Right.
How do you handle that? You got a lot of guys, no electricity. What was you guys are ready for almost anything. Were you ready for that?
It was different, but it's kind of like what this is called. What's next?
Right.
We were through with practice. The guys were eating, and they got through and went home, and we were watching practice, and all of a sudden the lights start flickering. We have a power surge, and we turn everything off and kind of hang out a little bit and turn everything back on, and we start watching practice again. And here it goes again, and then we hear that there's a fire and all this stuff, and so we shut everything down. And then we started making a plan of what we were going to do. Huff and I, Antonio Huffman, who's my chief of staff, we get together and we brought everybody in Thursday morning to feed them and tell them, hey, this is what we're going to do. And we sent them home. We knew we could. We had enough time to pick up that practice whenever we got back, and so guys got a couple extra days of spring break. And coaches got a couple extra days to relax and prepare for coming back for spring football.
Yeah, a strange deal how many days went out, but a lot of great people worked a lot of hours to make sure no one got hurt and everything was back up and going.
Yeah, we're back rolling, and I was watching. I came up here yesterday because we had a team meeting. We're just to check everybody's back on time and ready to go, and we're able. I watched practice again yesterday, and then. Man, there was. I know there was the city, all the fire department, the first responders. Man, they did a great job of getting everything ready to go, and then all electricians and everything like that. This building's back. We're running like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. You made some noise too last week. You kind of challenged Deion to.
Yeah, that's my dude, man. I love Deion.
Well, so give us a little story about that. Can that happen? Is that something kind of just a pipe dream type deal?
No, I think it's going to happen. I don't know exactly when. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened during this spring.
So it might happen actually.
From the standpoint, I don't know what we're going to do, but I could see waivers being granted. I think that is the future. It wouldn't be surprising if it happened. I think it's a great idea, because everybody's backing away from spring games and everything like that. I think it would be a great idea and Deion, kudos to him of coming up with this. And he's had experience, but almost like what the NFL does.
Yeah, they do those.
And having a couple days of practice and then maybe a controlled game, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great for fans. It'd be great exposure for both teams. I'd say something about going to Dallas because, we have such a great alumni base there, and it'd be well attended. And, I know they're recruiting the heck out of Texas, so it'd be good there too.
It makes sense too, right? He was a Cowboy.
No doubt.
we've had a great experience at the Star, and we've got great relationships there. Every time we've been there, it's been a great turnout. So and our fans would really turn out for something like that.
I mean, I think it's something. We'll have to look at it to see if it's if it happens this year. Not necessarily us, but I know that there's been waivers filed to where some people can do that. And if it happens, now you really look at it and say, how do we benefit from this? Who would come in and how would we actually do it? But I think it is the next thing. I was talking to James Blanchard last night, and he said, the dude's right on, and he's so smart. But he goes, I don't understand why college football is fighting what is already almost perfected at the NFL level. Like, it's almost like, here is the best model when it comes to everything. Revenue sharing, salary cap, when you could practice, everything. And we just refuse to go that way. Like that for whatever reason. I think a lot of it is we lump too many levels in. I know everybody plays a different game. There's too many rules that are trying to take FBS all the way down to NAIA. And I think at some point you've got to say, look, let's separate this and do what's smart and what's right. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's just sometimes like, man, let's don't screw this up, man. It's already been working for a long time at that level. Let's just kind of take that model.
If you read any kind of history of the NFL too, these guys have it figured out and have had it figured out for a while.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they fix it pretty
right.
quickly. They get it. They know how to kind of pick up the ball and say, okay, we need to fix this.
Yeah, no doubt.
Have you and Deion actually talked to the phone about this?
No, we just texted. Whenever I sent that tweet out, but I texted him before and I said, man, this would be a cool deal. And he said, man, I think it can happen. I'm really working on making this happen. He actually talked about it last year at the Big 12 meeting. It's just one of the deals is like, he's doing it, and I'm sure he's doing it with Fran Brown at Syracuse, who's another really good friend of mine, who did a phenomenal job year one of, coming up with a waiver and just getting the NCAA to okay it. And so now you look at if that's what's going to happen with them, is there enough time to get it done for us? Or is it even smart, having two new coordinators? Do we need more time with just ourselves trying to get our offense and defense in?
Is there any concern about greater risk for injuries doing something like that, or do you think it's just the same as doing it right here?
I think it's actually less injuries from the standpoint you don't have Raider on Raider injury, like at least I think there's a couple things. I think anytime that you speed up the game to where there's more competitive reps, I think there's times that there's less injuries involved or a chance for an injury. I think sometimes whenever you're all not at the same intensity and not going at the same, that's part of my deal that I have to, where you learn to practice. We talk about that. In fact, we talked about it yesterday because we're going to be in full pads tomorrow and protecting each other and taking care of each other. I think it's definitely something that could help injury-wise, but it's also something I think that you've got to – I just know at the high school level, whenever I scrimmaged Kenny Perry, all right, because I knew what kind of scrimmage I was going to get. I scrimmaged Sam Harrell. He became my mentor, and then we scrimmaged, I think, for 7 years straight because I knew what kind of scrimmage I was going to get. He wasn't going to turn it into some Super Bowl. We were going to get good practice out of it. We were going to take care of each other. It was going to be a very controlled scrimmage to where you because what you don't want to happen is, and you see it some in the NFL, is there's fights or there's cheap shots and I've been in scrimmages like that too, and so it's really important you do it the right way and find the right people to scrimmage.
Did you and KP ever go against each other in the regular season?
Yeah, we're 1-1.
One of them.
Yeah, I beat him in 2006. He beat me in 2007, and we were no longer in district together, and so we stopped playing, and then we started scrimmaging.
You ever yell at him across the field at all, Darren?
Oh man, there was in 2007. I took a timeout to get my team kind of. I jumped out on him 17-0, and he came back and tied the game, and then he got up on me, and I was trying to settle my team down, but I was also trying to talk to the head official, and so he started yelling at me Well, I was talking that, and I just stopped talking to the head official, and I started yelling at him that this was my timeout and that he could shut up. And the guy that was officiating, his name was Clark Calvert, and he was one of the best officials I've ever been around. He was unreal. He had a great crew. They let you play. My staff actually called him Big Game Clark, because we tried to get him in big games, and he actually stepped back and just started laughing and let us two go at it. My coaching staff actually, whenever I put my headset back on, he goes, "Oh, did you and your best friend make up?" It was a little bit like the Oklahoma State game.
We've got some experience.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I think KP's got a little Dan Hurley in him too, right?
Oh man, him and McCaslin and Hurley, they do, man. They do, man. They get after it. They're like pit bulls too. Like once they lock that jaw, they don't let go. The great thing about Kenny Perry is you're going to get him once, but he's going to come back and he's going to get it 2 or 3 more times.
I mean, he is again. We talk about fiery.
Yeah,
that's fiery. It's good to have that on your staff.
Yeah. Well, before he went bald, he was a redhead, so that was kind of like some.
You can just kind of see that in him.
Oh yeah,
you can see that in him. Hey, before we go, pro day last week. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
how that turned out for our guys?
I thought it went great. I thought Dre McCray ran really, really well, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to get in camp. But I've had some CFL teams call me also on him, so I think he's going to end up in a great place. I thought Braylon Lux ran really well. DB Carroll had, I think, the most on bench. He had 30 reps at 225, and so I thought some guys did some really good things. And then it was good to see Taj and Caleb and Jalen there. Mason Tharp ran well. I mean, he was a 4.7, like 4.74, 4.78, and so I thought he did a really good job.
It's good, and it's. Do you like that the way they do it now with everyone there together?
Man, it's tough. I think it's good because you have such a large number of scouts. So some of the times where you don't have as many guys drafted, you get more guys there, but I also liked it on campus because I think it's a great motivator for the guys, the young guys, because they get to go to it and watch, and I think that's a great motivator.
All right, so Thursday, Texas Tech playing Arkansas late Thursday night, San Francisco. Any chance you're going to be able to get out there?
I'm not going out there, but I'm going to be up watching it and yelling like crazy.
Get your coffee.
I'm excited.
It'll be because it'll be the second game, so it might start.
Well, we practiced Thursday, so I was glad. I was glad it was the second game and not the first game because they need to get the film watched and everything, and so that'd give me time to watch practice and make my notes and then get ready for the game.
All right, Coach. Look forward to next week and see what's next, but appreciate your time. For Joe McGuire and Robert Giovannetti, we'll see you again next week. Wreck 'em.
Wreck 'em.